You ever feel like God has forgotten you? Like the very one who breathed life into your bones is now overlooking you and you can't figure out why? Well, can I encourage you today? Because I actually know how you feel. Because prior to my wife and I moving to South Carolina about 15 years ago, we were living in Virginia, in the area where we grew up, where we met, where we fell in love and married and began our family. We loved the area, we loved the people. But we found ourselves in a season where we were kind of just dissatisfied. It wasn't that things were bad. We just had this dissatisfaction. We didn't really know why. We were discouraged. We were mainly discouraged because it seemed like that no matter how much we volunteered in the church, no matter how much we did for others, it seemed like we were constantly being overlooked and underappreciated. And we felt like that even God at this point was overlooking us and had written us off. And we didn't know why, and we were discouraged. And then one day the phone rang and this crazy thing happened, and it might encourage you today because our pastor at the time, Pastor Jeff, he calls me out of the blue and he said, I know what you got going on, but I really need to meet with you as soon as possible. I've got something to give you. Well, he hadn't done this in the several years he had been our pastor, so I felt like it was urgent. So I said, I'll be right there. I sit down in his office. He has a letter with my name on it. He says, I want to give this to you, but before I do, I got to tell you the story. He said, yesterday here in the church office, we had a team of people from Michigan come. And he said their ministry is to just go around and encourage church leaders, to equip them, to minister to them however they can, which I think is incredible. And he said, we had this scheduled several weeks ago, and I can invite whoever, leaders in the church, volunteers that I wanted to come. Well, guess who didn't get an invitation? Myself and my wife, Amanda. Well, once again, I'm sitting here in my mind thinking, overlooked, underappreciated. And at this point, there's not a shadow of a doubt that God has forgotten about us. I don't know what we've done. I can't explain it, but I feel very alone. But then Pastor Jeff went on to say something, because I'm glad I didn't say anything, because what he said next blew my mind. He said, you see, that team had been here for hours and they were getting ready to leave. And one of the ladies in that team from Michigan, who didn't know myself or Amanda and never met us, she turned around. She said, hold on. There was two people that should have been here today that didn't get an invitation. His name's Brian and his wife's name is Amanda. Well, that's a great way to get everybody's attention. And she looked at the secretary and said, you need to write this down because they need to hear this. Well, here I am the next day sitting in the pastor's office with this letter. And as he begins to read it, this is how it goes. God sees you. God has not forgotten you. God has not overlooked you. God is in this place. And what God is preparing for you in this next season is off the charts. So don't be discouraged. It was like the perfect medication for the sickness that we had, because we thought we had done something wrong. But all this time that we thought that God had disappeared, God had been working. All this time that we felt like God was silent, that we were not hearing from God, God was very much present in our lives. And I wished I could explain it all, but I can tell you this, that we are over 15 years removed from that letter. And I can tell you for sure that God is a God of his word, and that God will never leave you, and that God will never forsake you, and that God, if he says it, it will happen. And that when you don't even know it, God is busy at work. When you think that God has gone silent, God is busy preparing a highway in the middle of the sea, because you don't know that you're going to be going that direction, and God is already preparing the way for you to go that direction that you don't even know you're going. Because what God has prepared for you is off the charts. So God is in this place. God sees you. God has not forgotten you. God has not overlooked you. So don't be discouraged. Love you.